Hello, creative friends. I have been gifted some plastic ornaments. They could be Christmas ornaments or they could just be decorative decor ornaments for your household. These are a rounded square. I love mixed media art projects and playing and experimenting with materials. And I thought, well, let's try the alcohol ink ornaments together. First time doing this, maybe I should have practiced beforehand and found out some tips, but I thought, well, it's kind of fun to learn together. And these are a little bit more of a teardrop, maybe a type of ornament. So let's play with some alcohol inks. I brought out some glitters and some other fun things to drop inside of these and see what we can create. Thanks for subscribing to Creative Solace Studios and checking out my art tutorials playlist for more creative fun. Well, what colors should we do in this one? I'm always a fan of Wild Plum by the Holtz Adriondack alcohol inks. I think that's a pretty color. So let us put some drops of that inside of here. You know, there's some part of randomness that I see happening with this kind of a project. I don't think it's one that you can extremely plan out. I'm not going to blow the air around in that one. I like the way that these streaks are happening. And I don't want to create a brown by mixing all the colors together, so I'm going for some related colors. Let's try out some Cranberry, adding that to the Plum. It's going to be darker, more of a maroon or a burgundy. You do have to swirl these quickly, I'm seeing, as with other alcohol ink projects, they do dry quickly. So I don't have much of a chance to move them around. They're already adhering to the inside surface. I like that they're on the inside, so I don't have to worry too much about getting things messy around me. I'm leaving that one out because I think I'll come back to it. Stream. Let's see what happens with stream. I am being cautious not to let it puddle on the bottom with that flat bottom. I want it to move around in here. And at this point I have some main colors done, so I think I'm going to get ready for a glitter layer. Well, even before glitter, I'm discovering that I do have some of the Holtz silver and gold mixatives. Let's see how silver looks with the colors that we have in there. This is really a mixed media alcohol ink exploration. This might be old. Ooh, nope, it's going. Woo, I got too much in there. So guess what I am? Bringing out the air blower and let's see what happens. This is totally changing the color. It did totally mix the whole thing together, and we're not seeing those swirls anymore. This squarish ornament is coated on the inside. This one is so thick that I don't think the glitter will show through that, so I'm gonna bypass the glitter on this one. Ornament number 2, I'm going to continue with the same colors, with the swirly elements, the swirly look to it that it had before I added that silver. I want to see if we can get a companion ornament to the one that was just created, only this time I'd like to try some glitter in it. You know, sometimes I do actually plan out projects ahead of time, but oftentimes I love the exploration, the experiment, the science that goes into playing. and seeing what happens when you're using mixed media art supplies and letting them do their thing. Part of creating art comes from us, but part comes from the supplies themselves. What do they naturally want to do?
It's an interesting balance between guiding supplies and coaxing them, telling them to do certain things, structuring them, and abandoning yourself to the serendipity of life and art making.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's dried too much before I grab some powder glitters. This turquoise embossing powder is really pretty. This is also by Ranger. I'm going to go ahead and try this, even though it's an embossing powder. And I don't have something small to get it in here, so I'm just carefully putting some into the ornament. Well, it's easy to get carried away with glitter. Let's see what happens, and if this is still wet enough to have that glitter adhere to it. Another option, if you do like I did on this one and get too thick of the color, is either to leave it, and you can always paint or glue something on the outside of this, or we can pull out the alcohol and put a drop in there and see if we can get it to break up some of that thick color. I've got an alcohol spray bottle. This one is 91%, and I'm gonna try to spray it right into the ornament. See what happens. You can see that it broke up some of the color already. The bottom of it is still really thick. If we do too much, it can take all of it off, and then, well, we'll just start again. Yeah, this one I'm not as excited about as that first one. In fact, let's look back on the first one and see how that's drying in some really pretty patterns.
Let's take a break, a musical interlude, to enjoy the beauty of these colors of alcohol ink inside of these plastic ornaments.
I was going to try different colors, but I think, kind of using a scientific method, once I have used these same colors and learned about them, it helps to keep using those same ones to try to get different effects that I was going for. I think I will let all of these dry now, then take a look and evaluate what's happening on them. The ornaments have dried and I'm not pleased with them, so I'm going for round 2. But I guess this is how we learn, and you can learn with me in my first time with these alcohol ink ornaments. If they dried in this direction, the alcohol ink pooled at the bottom. Some of them I put upside down either in another tray or in these cups while they dried, then some of the alcohol ink dripped out of them and they're a little bit too light. So I need to do more. Let's go to it. This is the one that had the silver mixative with it. You can see how it has a different patterning of the color. Several of them, the glitter stuck to one side, not evenly dispersed. I don't like that clumping effect, so we'll do something about that. But I will show you this one because, ooh, there's one that I'm happy with. This one I worked fast. The ink came down on the top of it. It's easier to turn the ink around when the ornament has a rounded surface. The squared off corners are harder to rotate the ink around. It kind of collects in some of those corners. So this one is the only one that, let me move my fingers out of the way so you can appreciate this one, that I'm not going to do anything to right now. But the rest of the others, I'm going for playing some more and seeing what happens. Let me get my inks. Not sure if I'll try to work the glitter in there this time or not. And I believe I'll stay with the same 2 or 3 colors as before. These alcohol ink ornaments have dried for a second time. Let's take a look at them, and I have decided to split this video into 2 parts. This first part is the pouring of the alcohol ink into these. I'm going to do a second video that I'll link in the description of this one when I finish it, about doing some embellishments or paintings on the outside of some of these. But let's take a look at what happened with them, as this was my first foray into alcohol ink ornaments. The rounded edges definitely were easier to pour. This one turned out very beautiful with these colors, as did this one. Even though the bottom is clear, I'm happy with both of those. The next one had some, can you see the dripping of some alcohol ink somewhere on the outside? And so I had to do, or chose to do, some more drippings of alcohol ink on the outside so it would coordinate with something that already spilled. I'll probably do something a little bit more on that one in the next video. This one with glitter still has this big puddle of glitter right here. I was thinking I could either paint or glue something on top of it, or I could just hang it so it's in the back and all that glitter shows through this way. So I'll think about what to do with that one. Those are the rounded ones. Here's the rounded square cubes. Still, I had some issues mostly in these smaller ones, I had some issues with the alcohol ink evaporating and drying and not staying as bright as it was before. I didn't put any fixative inside of there. We'll see how it handles through time. Sometimes lighting or sunlight can evaporate or dissipate alcohol ink, so we'll see what happens with these. This one is definitely thicker on the bottom and not as thick around the sides, but when you hang it and look through it, you're looking through two sides, and if both sides have a lot on there, it's fairly well coated. Still might do something different with that. This one has a pearly kind of look on one side of it. It is not evenly colored with the same type of colors on the other side, but I do like the coordination between using the same colors. These would be pretty in a doorway as like an arched doorway hanging decorations. Of course, you could put them on a Christmas tree.
Many options.
But they could be hung in all different types of ways. This dark one, I was considering doing some white acrylic paint on top of it, maybe in some designs or patterns, but we'll see. This one turned out very light, so I'm not sure what kind of mixed media ideas I might come up with, or if I would leave these. This is a pretty purple, but it did get a big splotch of it on one side of it. And more of the blues in here. I was even thinking they could be hung in a pattern. Maybe two of the cubes, one of the teardrops, and onward. But we'll see what happens. At any rate, thanks for hanging out with me today and experimenting on something that was new to me. Let me know in the comments if you've done this before, any tips that you might have, but be sure to watch the next video because I'm not done with these. I want to do more. I'm going to do something on the outside of some of these, so stay tuned and find out.